In this day and age of remaking cartoons into live-action franchises with movies like Lion King, you could see Hollywood has run out of ideas. But going back to the very early days of this, some of these films were pretty good. One of those films that for some reason people forgot was the 1980s Popeye film that starred Robin Williams. It's one of his earliest works. I guess it's overshadowed by his bigger movies like Hook. Or maybe it was because Popeye isn't a large brand. In a lot of ways, it did help the film. The Popeye comic and cartoon shorts were these small little fun stories that featured over-the-top slapstick characters. This was even before Looney Tunes times. Whatever story the writers came up with, Popeye could do. It's a world of nonsense. With the limitations of the 1980s, they did a pretty good job in recreating that feel of a cartoon universe. Everything's allowed, and they found some pretty impressive actors that could do that physical humor. Now, most people are familiar with the cartoon shorts and shows done for Popeye. The movie actually borrows from both comic and shorts. All the basic elements, Popeye's look, the main characters, and the style are in the film. Some things can be confusing. Swee'Pea, for one, is based off the comics' origin of being Popeye and Olive's adopted kid, versus the cartoons implying that this was Popeye and Olive's kid. The film is also filled with some original characters. The movie doesn't adapt any story straight up from either the comics or shorts. They mostly come up with an original story that ties everything together, and they decided to go the route of building characters. Who is Popeye? Who is Olive Oyl? There's some mysteries to characters. The movie even plays tricks on the audience. You expect Popeye to be this campy adventure, but it begins in this dark, eerie storm as Popeye pulls up to this town called Sweet Haven. Of course, being a movie, you can't just have Popeye beating bad guys up or Olive Oyl falling all over the place for 2 hours. You need to have some sort of problem for Popeye to deal with. While there's something funny and weird going on, every scene is filled with cartoon logic. Characters would change clothing instantly, they'll survive being shoved into the ceiling, kicked in the air, so a lot of continuity or plot holes or other weird issues get a pass. It might turn some people off. Second, which surprised me, it's also a musical.
I'm Popeye, the sailor.
I don't care for songs, but most of the song numbers are fine. Some even give clever exposition. Only a few I could say are bad. What is the movie about? It focuses on Popeye's journey and finding his lost father, Poop Deck Pappy, with him meeting Olive Oyl, her family, and Bluto for the first time. He gets this vision of his father who disappeared when he was 2. It's the only time Popeye's mother is even referenced in the film. This vision said he was at the weird, dilapidated Sweet Haven. It's run by the never-seen Commodore, enforced by Bluto and the taxman, who taxes everything. Ask him a question, taxed. Arrived in the town like Popeye, taxed.
But first of all, there's 17 cents new in town tax.
If you're thinking of a certain Disney film with a fox, a lot of the town's backstory is a ripoff of Robin Hood. About Popeye, he's a little bit different from the comic and cartoons. Williams plays him more snarky.
Oyl, that explains it. She's down a quart.
He'll point out how dumb things are, like Olive Oyl's name, how people act, and all the things that make no sense. But he's also pretty clueless in catching hints and subtleties, so he gets taken advantage a fair bit. This is actually a nod to how random the character is in the comics. One minute, Popeye will be like Jack and the Beanstalk, but then another, he'll turn into Sherlock Holmes. The movie also makes Popeye talk a lot. I think the character had evolved through the early parts of the film because Williams redubs over himself in a lot of areas. Maybe he did a different voice in those scenes, or maybe they realized that Popeye looked too dumb towards the people, because the town was closing stores and vacant rooms when he came up to them, so the writers filled him with extra lines. You're going to see him a lot of times talking with his mouth not moving.
Text this, text that.
And it also makes Robin's voice disconnected because he's dubbing like 80% of the film. Besides the main three, most of Oyl's family are featured: Castor, Cole, and Nana Oyl, with, of course, Wimpy. Whether other characters from the comics appear in the film, you really can't tell, since most were not identified on screen and got generic names in the credits. For the most part, Olive's character is there, her caring about herself, her getting into funny situations, and her clumsiness. They did change the whole Bluto and Popeye dynamic. With the cartoons, Bluto would go after Oyl. For the most part, Olive would prefer Bluto over Popeye because he was the more impressive man. Then she would see why Popeye was nice. In the film, it has to do more with her family being poor. Bluto loves her, if you can call that love.
She loves me. She don't love me.
but plays it up. She does it so well, it tricks her friends, tricks her family, all for them to not get taxed to death. She's good in that sense, but bad in others. She doesn't really see Popeye as a person, just some uneducated, weird-looking guy.
What are you doing listening in on a private conversation between me and my mother?
And she just insults Popeye like that. So Olive doesn't start out all that nice in the movie. She's bitter towards everyone, even when someone agrees with her. There's this scene with her brother during dinner.
You said you're not a child, and I agreed with you, that too.
Who asked you to agree with me?
The people in town are not really nice. It's all a mishmash of the hate everyone has towards the taxes and barely surviving. The weakest part, though, is Bluto. Him being evil is fine. He has the really cool, insane scene when Olive tries to leave town, destroying Olive's house. The rest of the time, he's just a generic bad guy no one crosses. There's no depth to him. I mean, the cartoons didn't have much depth either, but that's the job of the movie. They did good with the others. Bluto just disappears and reappears when the plot needs him, literally. He's also in one of the songs I don't really like. Usually the actors are singing their songs, but in Bluto's case, he has a singer sing for him. He's basically like Nuclear Man in Superman 4. Powerful, but a stupid villain. The second half of the film focuses around Swee'Pea. Like I said, was given to Oil and Popeye by some unknown woman. They came up with a really cool story for the baby. In the cartoon, Swee'Pea is just there to be rescued or have something for Popeye and Olive to do together. The film does this, but is also what makes them see each other differently. So Swee'Pea starts the relationship.
Sweet.
They also gave him a second ability. Swee'Pea has the power to see the future. Poor town plus kid that can see the future. What's gonna happen? Time to get the kid to the races. What I liked about this was that a lot of the blame of the town being in such a crap state is the fault of Bluto, the Commodore, and the Taxman, but also the people. The moment they get a chance to make some money, morals go out the door, and they just start betraying each other. That was a big theme through the film. It didn't matter who it was. When the Oil family house got destroyed, Cole stupidly entered a boxing fight against a guy to win $1,500. He had no chance in winning. He's betting his freaking life, but on top of that, it's so pointless when you just be taxed to hell and get very little of it anyway. Even Olive Oil fell into this. She was all gung-ho happy to rescue Swee'Pea from Wimpy, but the moment she saw dollars...
Let me see that racing form. Oh, maybe we can... Oh, Swee'Pea.
Let's use the kid. Only Popeye, the outsider, saw the insanity. I miss the days when writers weren't afraid to make their heroes look bad every now and again, showing them screw up, learning, and fixing it. An example where writers screwed up is in WandaVision. Spoiler warning for the next minute. Wanda was shown being a hero when she gave up her fake family and Vision, but doesn't have any repercussions in taking over the town as her fantasy playthings. What she just did is validated the hate towards mutants. She should be jailed till they came up with an important reason for her to be released, which wouldn't interfere with her astral form, so the story they had planned can still be done. Before you ask, Popeye also has a big flaw. Thanks to his father abandoning him, he never learned to like spinach. That's how they wrote around the whole spinach thing. If Popeye just ate spinach, the movie would be over in 5 minutes. Popeye is naturally stronger than regular men, but isn't invincible. I'm glad they went this route because doing the whole, he lost a can of spinach or he forgot to pack a can, doing it multiple times in a movie for the plot convenience would start making him look very dumb. Do we get to see his father? Yes, we do. It's a good reveal and does help out in the end of the film, but I think it was done too late. The movie is almost 2 hours long, and Poop Deck shows up in the last 25 minutes. I should mention he's played by Ray Walston. Star Trek fans know him as Boothby.
We got the same pipe, Pep.
You idiot! You can't inherit a pipe!
Because he shows up so late in the film, he only gets to interact with Popeye, so we never get to see him in the town dealing with the townfolk or Olive Oil as folks. For the time and going all in with the cartoon feel of Popeye, I think the movie accomplished bringing the cartoons and comics to life. Today they could definitely do more in matching the impossible shorts, but sometimes smaller works better. Really, the only issues I have are with Bluto and the singing. I think there were too many songs. I think if they cut 2 and gave that time to Bluto, it'd be better. The thing I hated, though, was that they had this other guy in the film, the big guy who did the wrestling stuff. That should have been Bluto's backstory. He had a mother in the town that wanted his son to beat people in the ring. You had Linda Hunt play this character. It's a big waste. If Bluto's mother was there, she could at least keep the Bluto presence going even when you had to remove him for plot reasons. It's like Sauron in Lord of the Rings. He's a disembodied eyeball, so you need other villains to keep the bad guy's presence. The stupid taxman is more of the main villain than Bluto is. When Popeye accidentally hits him, which makes him fall into the water, the whole town cheered. Everyone should have done this when Bluto was beaten. It was all backwards. Robin Williams has made some hit and miss movies. I think this one is underappreciated. It's not a bad film by any means, it's just a little weak. Thanks for checking out the review. Subscribe if you want to see more, and if you remember a movie or a show that's long been forgotten, good or bad, leave it as a suggestion below. I'm always on the lookout for obscured stuff.